Okay, so the one last thing I need to just check, because it says it's live, but I want to make sure I can see that it's live, which is always going to be awkward because anyone watching this is like, well, we know it's live. Oh, there it is. I see. So now I need to click here because I need to watch out for any comments. And I'm sure the first comments we're going to get is, you should learn how to do this, Josh. And that's a fair point.
I think people are more forgiving these days, Josh.
I hope so. But I guess maybe the question is, when can we stop being forgiving? Because I'm in some ways, like I'm trying to be forgiving, but on the other hand, I'm getting tired of it.
Well, let me put it this way. I am perfectly ready to be forgiving of any idiosyncrasy of any friend of mine.
Well,
I am not ready to be forgiving of the rest of those folks.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's fair. That's a kind way to be. But here's the question: at one point in this crisis, are you going to throw that away for friends too? Because there's got to be a certain point where it's like, all right, come on.
Oh, no, I don't think there is. I have a very small circle of people that I consider good friends. And, we are here to nurture the best in each other as we loudly bitch and moan.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I think I'm getting, okay, good. I finally got this working. All right, everything's there. Oh, April is already saying hello. Perfect. Okay, good. So it looks like it's working. I think it's working.
It's functioning. Great.
Okay. I think it's functioning. All right. Although, oh, I see what's going on. It's going the back and forth. Okay, so I need to spotlight myself, which I can't do. Oh, well, no need to do that. Okay. So, boy, this is turning into one of my dates. No, actually, you know what? I need to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the screen because I want to make sure that we're showcasing the art part of it, because that's the whole point.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to...
Of which we have yet to speak.
Yes. Yes, that's the whole reason why we're doing this. So I just shared that. Now I just need to make sure that it's sharing on the... This is so awkward. I can't tell you right now how awkward this is. Thank you, Janet, for bearing with me on this. And the weird thing is that I've done... like I keep doing these and I keep telling myself, I know how to do this. And then it takes me until halfway through the process for me to learn. And now I'm finally getting it. Okay.
Good.
Janet, let's start with a little bit of background on you. And I know Dave and Barb, I think, have done interviews with you before, so I don't want to necessarily kind of go on the same track that they were going on. But my question is, at what point did art become a part of your life? How early in your life did that happen? And was there a specific event that caused that to happen? Because for those of you just joining in, by the way, I should point out that Janet is a very successful activist muralist. Would that be the best way to describe it?
That would be a wonderful way, yes.
And I think there's a really good job of, that every single piece of art that you do has a very specific point and a very specific goal in terms of trying to change the hearts and minds of the person looking at that piece of art. So it's not just flowers in the meadow, unless it has something to do with flowers in a meadow.
Exactly so. And the advantage, of course, of being a public community muralist is that your work is out there on the wall. It's not in some museum somewhere where you have to pay to get in. It's in your neighborhood. It's probably about your neighborhood. You undoubtedly have seen the artists at work, even though you may never know their name. And I've gone to, I think I've done it in 7 or 8 countries, which is also very interesting. But so there's a different relationship with the audience. That is, it's a different audience. You're seeing something right in your neighborhood. I mean, I think if people in LA, where there are great murals, thinks about it for a minute, they've probably got a mural in their neighborhood. And in all likelihood, it speaks to them.
Now, do you notice, and this might be too broad a question, but do you notice a difference between how people react to your art in this country versus other countries, or is it different every time?
It's really different every time. Often when I'm in another country, I'm there with a very, they want something extremely specific. That's why they ask me to come. Sometimes I don't speak the language, and so I have a translator. So I think it's different with each culture. Are you in a culture that sees women as equals, or are you somewhere that says, "What is that woman doing, bossing around all those other people?"
Now, what would be an example of the most extreme reaction that you've ever gotten from a piece of your art somewhere?
Oh, well, it depends on what you mean by an extreme reaction. A 9-year-old once came by a mural we were working on and said in a very quiet tone, "Do you know that you've painted 6 fingers on that boy?" So one of the things that happens is you get critiques. On one mural, we were painting a woman killing what we call the drug dragon, and the dragon was red. And after we finished that bit, the next morning, someone came by and said, "Oh, a Chinese dragon." And about an hour later, someone else came by and said, "Oh, a Chinese dragon." And we thought, "Oh my God, this is not what we intended." We were not giving an ethnicity or a nationality to the dragon, which became a purple dragon.
Interesting.
And on that same mural, actually, the mural took us 3 summers. In the first summer, we were painting a panel about AIDS. This was back in the 90s. And a woman from the neighborhood was very upset about it because her brother had died of AIDS. And she said she didn't want to see it. She wished we hadn't done it. And, you know, it was very heartfelt. It was very real. But over the course of the 3 summers, she became much more involved with the mural, with all the other panels and things we were doing. And when we went to dedicate the mural, she cut the ribbon.
Okay. So that evolved into something, hopefully, that was healing, it sounds like.
Yes. But you don't know it at the time.
Right.
You know.
Kind of, it makes sense to me that that it took the extreme reaction to begin with on her part to, you know, that means that it worked, or not, maybe
Yes.
the wrong word, but it had the impact that you were trying to get it to have.
Right.
Now, when did you start doing art? How old were you?
I think about 9.
Okay.
But in between, I wanted to be other things.
Other things. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times, people will ask comedians, what was the first joke you ever wrote? Do you remember the first thing you ever drew or painted?
I have a vague memory of it, yeah. I don't own it, but I have a vague memory of it.
Gotcha. And What was it?
It was some kind of stone, abstracted big figure standing in a very orange and yellow and red landscape. That's all I can tell you about it.
Huh. Interesting.
But I would say, you know, no, I haven't thought of that in, 70 years. I would say it had some of the elements that my work always has.
That even then you were trying to say something.
Yes. I'm not sure what I was trying to say. But, it's important, and I wonder if comedians see this as well. It's important that we remember, although we talk a lot about the content of art, that for an artist, the formal issues come first. The color, the composition, all of those things really supersede the message. And I will bet, though I don't know this for sure, that joke structure comes before content.
Well, yeah.
Is that true?
I would say so, because if it's more shocking, or if it's sadder, or if it's more, politically pointed than it is funny, then it's not funny.
Exactly.
So yes, the comedy, the ultimate goal. It reminds me of something that your son told me, Mr. Dave Reinitz, about how when they were interviewing Carlin and they're asking him, what's the political point you're trying to make, or what's the agenda, and he's saying the point is to be funny. That's the point.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, but it's interesting though, because I think there is a fine, it's a knife's edge, because if there's no, there has to, typically the jokes that I like writing and the jokes that I respond to the most are the jokes where there is something, the comedian has something that they want to say.
Right, there is content.
Yeah,
but all I'm saying is that the formal issues of how you put that content out have to be right.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying, and I see how that can apply in art as well as comedy. That if that's not there, what you're left with is, well, who knows?
Exactly. What I'm left with is the things at the bottom of the flat files that never quite made it.
But here's the thing, and I've heard comedians talk about this before. A lot of comedians, the notion that it's the good thing and the bad thing about comedy. The good thing about comedy is if it's funny because it gets the laugh, and right then and there, okay, that worked. And if it didn't get the laugh, okay, that didn't work. So that's nice. Now, on the other hand, with art, especially, there's art that can have different kinds of interpretations. That immediacy, let me put it to you this way. So I think sometimes we comedians are jealous of artists or of musicians because it can be considered good even if it doesn't get that immediate reaction. Whereas in stand-up, either it's funny or it's not, and there's no gray area.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah,
But I think what happens though is that artists make work that would be in the comedian's "it's not funny" category.
Right.
But they don't know it. When you finish making a painting before it goes out into the world, and you hope it does, you have no idea.
Right.
And even if it's in an exhibition, you are not necessarily ever going to get any feedback.
Right. Yeah. And that's where.
That's an absolute opposite.
And it's.
Now, I think that with the drive-by gallery show that Flappers is sponsoring, you may get some honking horns.
Right, or at least, yeah, some reaction. But that, you know, that's a good. I never thought of it that way either, because and I'm gonna get to the drive-by thing in 1 second. Don't worry. That is on my to-do list. But it's interesting because one thing that's one thing that's really happening in the world of stand-up right now is there is none, because of everything getting shut down, and
right.
and comedians now are trying to do all their stuff online. And the big problem is that when I'm in a room with people, I can immediately hear and feel and see them laughing, whereas
Yes.
if I'm posting a joke on Twitter or doing a doing something on live stream, I'm not hearing the laughs. And the only thing that kind of comes close is what we're starting to do at Flappers, which is we're actually doing shows that take place in the same kind of situation that you and I are in, only it's there's 50 of you or 100 of you, and we're hearing in real time the laughs, but in this kind of this digital environment.
Yeah, and it's very similar in the art world. Of course, the museums are closed, the art galleries are closed, and shows. I know that shows that I have worked in have gone online. Well, okay, you're going to watch this, see this little image, and not know how big the work is, not really be able to see the texture of it. It's a very different operation, and frankly, I don't like looking at art online at all.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point. Like, for instance, I can look at I know this, we've had this conversation before, which is hilarious, which is why I'm bringing it up. Because I was about to say, well, I could look at the Mona Lisa in person versus on a computer, and I'm sure in person I can still feel like it's overrated.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing about the Mona Lisa is you never get a sense of how small it is.
Oh. No,
if you're just looking at it online. But yes, I agree with you. There are many better paintings in that room than Mona.
The other thing you don't get either, because I remember this when I visited the Getty, was how on a lot of these paintings, what you don't see in a picture or on the computer is the vibrancy of the color.
Yes, everything gets very flattened out on the computer.
Right. Now, that said, the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the drive-by gallery that we're doing, but I was going to go right to my computer and show that to the people watching.
Well, you can.
So I want to apologize to the people at home that about this. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. All right. So now I wanted to go painting by painting, or artwork by artwork, because some of these are actually photos and not paintings. And
yes, two of them are photographers.
Yes.
Two of the artists, yeah.
And then also, before we do that, though, I just wanted to read a couple of comments. Rick says, aloha, Janet. So thankful for your contributions to society through the visual narrative. He asks, do you have a particular project you're working on now? And we're about to discuss that. So there you go.
Yes, right. We're about to discuss it.
And then April said, that's awesome that she came around on the AIDS mural. That's really transformative. So there you go.
Oh, thank you, April.
Very nice. Okay.
I hope April knows that her name is memorialized by T.S. Eliot in The Wasteland, the first line of which is, April is the cruelest month. And by God, this year it is.
Yeah, boy, he called it. Can I just say, by the way, I feel like every April in my life has always been shitty in one way or another. There's something about April. I've never liked April.
Oh, shame on you. It's my birthday month.
Oh, well, it's
okay, Josh. It's okay.
It's my foot's in my mouth. All right, there you go. I maybe what it is it's something about the spring, and it's the era of it's the time of year where people are rejuvenating, and people are falling in love, and I never am, and I'm just resentful. So maybe it's just a reflection of me.
Oh, well, maybe next April will be better.
Yeah, we'll see. Any April after this, I'm hoping is going to be a better April.
Indeed.
Okay, so now I have the pictures, but forgive me, I don't have the names of the people who did it with the pictures in front of me. We'll have it when we put it up.
Okay.
And if we put them online, we're putting the names of the person on the thing. So
absolutely.
Yes.
And a little note that they're all copywritten, please.
Yes. Oh no, we're doing that. But
okay. Artists can get fussy about that.
No. And maybe what I can do is if I can find. I have a phone. I have 2 computers open right now, and I don't know where anything is.
Okay.
So this is because I'm trying to see if I can find the
thumbnail.
And the name of the people. And I have 3.
Well, I can help you if you tell me what they look like.
Oh, okay, perfect. Maybe we'll just do that. Let me just check one more place. Because, hold that thought, everybody.
Well, I can say something while you're looking. The first thing to.
Oh, all right. You say what you're going to say, and let me keep looking, and maybe I'll find it.
Okay. The first thing that an audience driving by might want to know is that I am not usually a curator. However, I picked the 11 other people because they were artists that I knew and whose work I liked and who had a sense of humor. And also, as it turned out, they're all women. But they don't, that is not something to be headlined. That is something to be assumed. There are too many damn shows that are, women artists. When's the last time you saw a show headlined as male artists or male comedians?
It's funny you mention that because that is the number one complaint I'm starting to hear from female comedians, which is just don't call it, they hate the all female thing, that there shouldn't be a difference. Comedians are comedians.
Exactly.
Let that go. And I am I will tell you, I'm a little conflicted about that because I totally see their point. But from someone who...
Josh, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
If you totally see their point, you wouldn't be conflicted. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have a horse in the race on that one.
Now, this is a subject on which I am quite fierce.
Here's the trouble. Here's the conundrum. Because I, on the one hand, like the comedian in me agrees. But on the other hand, the person who works at the club, the booker, sales, and marketing person, is like, well, yeah, but sometimes at least for the comedian shows, if people know that it's an all-female show, sometimes that angle will sell more tickets. So that's where I get, I'm torn.
And would that be true for race as well?
It is. I mean, there are like, for instance, we do a show called Jokes for Jews on Christmas Eve and Easter. And, say what you will, it's just, it's the name kind of says it all, and the day that we do it on also says it all. So and we get audience who keeps coming back year after year for it. So it's a double-edged sword, because I think that shows like that appeal to one particular culture, another show
on a certain day of the year.
Right. We also have a show called Armenian All-Stars, and that's an all Armenian show. And another very popular show that makes sense in Burbank, because we have a very strong Armenian population. So I'm kind of conflicted on that one.
I hear you. I appreciate that this is a business decision. And I suppose, Jews should have a day to laugh.
Which is the most Jewish thing I've ever heard anyone say.
Okay. All right. Onward, Josh.
All right. Okay. Stay on target. I got it. I got you.
Okay.
I understand. Okay. So Dave actually, in his wisdom, has texted me the names of everybody. So the first one. Okay. Well, the first one, it's called Damn, the Water Was Virus-Free. And it's from, correct me if I'm wrong.
Amiran White.
Amiran White from Portland, Oregon.
Right. She is a photographer.
Yes.
And this photograph that she took, she's been doing, documenting the Chinook Indians in Oregon. And this is from some kind of ceremony that the Chinook do that has to do with these big fish.
Interesting. And this is now so something up there is killing the fish, I would presume? Or no, this is not this.
No. The titles of these things are mostly invented by Dave Reinitz. There are a few that are not.
Okay.
And it is mostly, as you drive by, that whatever the image actually is, with the title, you will smile.
I see. So
you may even laugh out loud at a few of them.
So in other words, some of these, the intent was different than the title. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
There is one particular one by Janet Goldner from New York that has turquoisey type glove things in it.
Yep, I'm scrolling to it as we speak. Yes.
Okay. Now, this is a cropping of an old piece of hers, and she used to spend about half her time in Mali, in West Africa. Okay. And the title of this one, Ebola Came to Mali on a Bus, is the title of that work. It was not changed.
Got it. So she was ahead of her time on that one.
Yes, well, she's an artist who's ahead of her time on a lot of things. She's a New York artist. New
York artist. Okay. Janet Goldner, very good. And now are those real gloves that she used, or were they?
You'll have to drive by to see.
Okay, fair. I was going to ask because if need be, we may need to actually have those gloves, depending on how crazy it gets. All right. All right. The next one I wanted to talk to you about was by Yasmine Diaz.
Yes. Now, Yasmine Diaz is very special to this particular gallery because she is the only person who is from Los Angeles.
Okay.
And she is a very up and coming, Very. I urge you all to go out and buy a piece of her work immediately
Yasmine
before you
Diaz.
can't afford it.
Now I'm curious about this one because so it's a picture of the gentleman with the orange mask. Now,
Right.
And I know the titles have been added by Dave.
No, I think the word Louise was added. No. Yes, the title was added by Dave, but the word Louise was added by Yasmine.
I know you can hear me, Louise. Okay. Got it. Now, this piece of work, was this also something that Yasmine had created before the...
No, she created this just for this show.
Just for the show. Okay, got it.
Right.
And it is a,
it's a photo collage with the orange mask.
With the orange mask, right. And do we know, I'm curious, do we know who the person is? Is it just a random person or is it someone of...
I have no idea. Obviously someone related to Louise.
I don't know.
In some way.
He looks to me like one of the politicians who caused this.
Well, someone would have to get in touch with Yasmine to find out.
All right, we may just have to do that. All right.
You may.
Okay, so the next one, we got this lovely plate of macaroni, it appears.
Oh, yes.
Quarantine
Airco
cuisine.
Caravan. And this Airco did this whole thing. I mean, I think she already had the macaroni, but she put the text right on there herself. She's from Amsterdam, and she's a terrific artist. She does all kinds of multimedia stuff. A lot of sculpture, a lot of installations. It's a terrific piece.
Yeah, and it was interesting about it too, when I'm looking at this particular one, is how there's something about the way the macaroni looks that feels very virusy.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Because
Great
maybe,
observation.
Because maybe it's, I feel like it's every time I look on the news, they have the close-up image of the virus, like that's going to help us.
Yeah.
I'm glad we know what it looks like. I don't need to know what it looks like on a microscopic level. You do. You're the doctor.
And I think using the macaroni at Flappers Comedy Club and restaurant,
right?
It's terrific.
Yes, and it should be. If Dave is listening to this, I think we are offering the macaroni and cheese for the drive-through.
I hope so. It's very good there.
And perhaps, dare I say it, Janet, perhaps the macaroni is the reason why the gentleman with the face mask, maybe it's orange. Perhaps he was just eating the macaroni.
Oh, you never know.
Have you been wearing the masks when you go out?
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
It's not an option here.
Yeah, here's what I hate about it, other than the fact that you have to wear a mask in and of itself. What I've discovered is if I eat anything with garlic in it, now I have to smell that. It goes right back into my nose when I'm breathing out.
That's your problem, Josh.
Well, I know, and that's I excel at making it about me. That's sort of my thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then, well done.
Thank you. All right, now the next one I think is by someone who is relatively familiar to you. Ain't no virus gonna shut us down.
Okay. Now, that is mine.
Okay.
This was the impulse or the impetus for the drive-by gallery.
Okay.
In terms of when Dave saw it. But I have to say that originally there was no text on it at all. And the title of it was Greetings from Brooklyn. But Dave came up with Ain't No Virus Gonna Get Us Down. Now, I would never use the word ain't, of course. So we must call it a collaboration.
We must.
Yes.
Now, I'm curious if we focus on the image of this person, giving the raspberry through the mask, are you, who is the person giving the raspberry to? Or is that a question I have to answer as the spectator?
Yes. If you don't laugh, it's giving it to you.
Oh, all right. I buy that.
Okay. Okay. No, the reactions of the people who see this will be quite individual.
Right.
Surely there are jokes that 90 out of 100 people laugh at hilariously, and 10 people just say, uh-huh.
Well, the other thing I like about this is that the style of this person, it looks almost, it reminds me of like ancient native artwork. So it almost looks like this could have been something that was carved 1,000 years ago in a temple.
Oh, how nice. You see, I would never have thought of that.
And that's, and I like that, somebody, probably, colonial British explorer is breaking into a temple somewhere, and he's looking at this, and he's, in between trying to figure out how can I exploit this for England. He sees this picture of the person giving him the raspberry, and it's almost poetic justice.
Oh, there you go. That's great. I like that a lot.
Would you say your influence, would you count the ancient works as your influence? Because when I look at this, it almost feels like there's a, and I'm by no means an expert, but it reminds me of the Easter Island stuff.
Oh, yes. Well, I would say that I actually, when it comes to non-Western influences, the biggest influence in my work is African.
African, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's a stretch, but it's probably there. Right.
Any reason why, or was it just something you gravitated toward kind of instinctually?
Actually, a long time ago, I was a visiting artist at an arts-based high school in the city, and they asked me to do something based in African art, and I started looking. And then I was hooked, and eventually I went to Africa. I started collecting African art, and then much later, I actually painted a mural in Ghana. So, Africa's been quite a wonderful influence on me.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to move now to, okay, so this next one is
Sarah Hanson-Pareek. Yeah.
Correct. At Play in the Fields of Corona.
Pardon me?
Well, the title is At Play in the Fields of Corona.
Right. Now, Sarah is a photographer, and she's very interested, actually, formally, in ways that you create photographs. And she did this specifically for this show.
Okay.
So this one and the macaroni one were created for this show. This one, the macaroni one, and the Louise mask were created specifically for this show.
I gotcha. And when you say, you know, what she likes to do is figure out how. Do you mean to say that, or not? Do you mean to say what? I want to make sure that I understand it correctly. That she's experimenting with how things are photographed, or playing with that.
I think how things are printed. I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I stumped you, Janet.
You have, because I haven't seen a great deal of her work.
Okay.
So you know, I am someone who knows nothing about technology, even printing photographs. But she did this just wonderfully, I think.
Yes, and can I say, as a public announcement to anyone watching, that while it is expected that we wear masks, I think if we're naked in public, that's a problem.
Depends on where you live, I think.
Wow, I didn't know.
Never mind, onward.
Okay, next we're moving on to Judy Hoffman. Has your worldview changed?
Right. Now, Judy is also a Brooklynite, actually, who did all these wild installations and has since become more exclusively a ceramicist. And she didn't think she had anything appropriate whatsoever.
Well,
and I said, I went to her. I mean, I know her quite well, so I could do this. I went to her website and I said, "What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that?" And Dave came up with the title. She cropped it so that it, you know, it's in the format that it's in now. And I really like it. I think it's the most serious of all of the pieces. Between the title and the actual content.
Well, it's, yes, and sadly, I think that there's something about it that is just the harsh reality, because I look at this and I think about how, you know, we're living in quote unquote 2020 and we're supposed to be this civilized, advanced society. And yet it feels to me like the way we're dealing with this in many ways is we're less advanced than the people in the 1600s who had to deal with this.
Yeah, it is. I mean, except when you see that the lighting at the top, there's something about it that's quite primitive.
Yeah.
And very, and very old. And I think if you're going by it and looking at the title, it is the most thought-provoking.
Right. Yeah, especially because I was just talking about this with somebody else, the notion that we're in what is, now at the very least a recession. Hopefully it stops, but it, probably could very easily become more than that. And it just goes to show.
Yes, as the world turns, it certainly may.
Yeah, but it goes to show how, everyone thought we were so prosperous before, when in reality, we were all, or so many of us were one paycheck away from the end, from nothing.
Yes. Well, it certainly has drawn the curtain back from that great secret.
Yeah. And, I don't know, hopefully we'll learn from it and build up our infrastructure and evolve as a species, but I doubt it. Let's move to the next painting.
Right. Okay, the next one,
yes.
by Rochelle Shicoff. Shelley has been my mural collaborator for many, many, many years, and so we've worked together on a lot of projects. And she put the title to this. This is her title.
Yeah, and what I love about this one is that I feel like this could apply to me before the virus.
Oh, yes. Depending on how you feel about Rachel Maddow.
Right.
Indeed. But
No
you
more
gotta
listen-
laugh at it anyway.
Yeah, no more listening to Rachel Maddow, is what the title is. And,
Right.
And what, yeah, because the picture I am. And I like it. I feel like this person is related to the Scream. I feel like they're in the same family.
Yes, I think Shelley is a better painter. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Do you hear me, Shelley?
I'm not gonna.
No, you can't. You can't. You're
yeah.
right.
But I like it. And I like. The thing I like about this painting is that whoever this person is who was just listening to Rachel Maddow was also doing. Oh no! Was that I like the pattern on her kitchen table. The sunflowers, not
Yes.
those are daisies.
Yes. Well, this is a very multi-layered piece. It's a very sophisticated piece, as a matter of fact.
All right. Let's.
As opposed to the next one, which is very in your face.
Would that be Love Not Hate?
That's Lady Pink.
Yes.
All right. Lady Pink is probably the best known female spray artist, certainly in this country.
Okay.
And this is a crop out of a huge mural that was called Resist.
Right. Yeah.
She was also the featured young woman in that movie about the early graffiti movement. I think Wild Style was the name of it.
Okay. I don't know that.
And she is terrific. And she let us crop it where we wanted to take one section out of it. It's huge. You know, it's probably half a New York block long.
Now, and when did she do this? Actually, was this the mural?
You know, I don't know. I don't have a date on it. I'm sorry.
It's so hard to tell because there have been so many idiots who we need to impeach. This could have been 2 years ago. This could have been Bush.
Yes.
It's
knowing Pink, it could be almost everybody.
Right. The sad thing is that it's really evergreen, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I like the Statue of Liberty is melting in what appears to be lava. Which
yes. Well, I mean, Pink's work is not subtle. It's not meant to be subtle.
Not at all.
It is meant to be right out there in your face.
Right. I am getting that. The message is received and understood.
And I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to include a spray artist.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about that and how it reminds me in a way of how, you know, do you find that there's that because, you know, spray art is so much newer than, you know, for instance, watercolor or oils. And what
right.
you know, as with all art, you know, at first it's, you know, almost dismissed, I would say. And then after a while, it takes time for it to become legitimized. I mean, you know, in early motion pictures were, you know, dismissed. And now I would say that many people would put many movies on the same artistic achievement as a novel. You know, even
Absolutely, it's the evolution of an art form.
Yes, and I was thinking about that, how, you know, it's something that's dismissed, you know, even 10 or 15 years ago. Oh, that's graffiti, and now with people like Lady Pink, and I would imagine Banksy would also be another one as an example. You know, it's becoming.
Yes, in terms of career, yes, but Pink is much more of a community collaborative lady.
Right, as opposed to just sneaking in somewhere, painting it, and then.
Yeah,
Know
exactly.
what it looks like.
Exactly. Right.
It could be a she. Banksy could be a she. We don't know.
What?
Banksy could be a she. Could be a woman. Right?
Yes, I'd never thought of that. But I think that that's a discussion for another time.
I see. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Beverly Whitside. Avoid the market.
Whiteside. It's Whiteside.
Oh, Whiteside. I'm sorry. Avoid the market. Grow your own. Which.
Yes.
Now this looks like a combination. It's painted, but also there are elements that are added on, like the shells. I think are those painted?
Yes. This is a paint and collage.
Paint and collage. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and she's a terrific artist. I met her when I was in Columbus visiting a friend, and saw a mural of hers and tracked her down, and just her work is wonderful, I think.
I always like,
and it's a whole other perspective artistically.
Well, yeah,
as well.
It's in many ways, it's there's a strong sense of positivity, I would say.
Yes, and her work, all of her work, is a celebration of Black culture.
I gotcha. Other thing I always like is when I can see a little bit of the brush strokes and the paint on the canvas. I think that that there's something about it that adds, in a weird way, almost makes it more real than if you were to just take a photograph.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because in this one, you actually do see the artist's hand.
Yes, and it feels more human.
Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yes.
You're very observant, Josh.
Well, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but...
Yeah, go ahead, toot. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I thought, well, because I think where I've noticed that too is how, I'm a big fan, for instance, of the Japanese anime, the animated films that have come out of Japan. A big fan of Miyazaki, and what I'm noticing is that, in animation they're moving from hand drawn, hand painted animation to computers. And, and I was actually just watching a movie that it was mostly animated, and that there were certain scenes where suddenly it was computer generated, and it just totally took me out of it. And it was like I feel like I'm watching a video game, and it's like, no, I liked it when it was drawn. There was.
Well, I'm computer generated art. In general, it's not my cup of tea, but that's another story. I am very opinionated.
I know there's so much we're exploring so much here that for other podcasts. Okay, the next one. I spent my stimulus on toilet paper. By, is it Charlotta or Carlotta?
Charlotta.
Charlotta Janssen.
Yes, she's also a Brooklyn artist. I met, and that is a self-portrait, by the way.
Okay.
Um,
I'm going to
I
assume
met
she's the
her
woman.
because she was doing a series of portraits of the freedom rider. Oh, I've lost the word. What do you call it? Mugshots.
Oh,
And so she asked if she could use my mugshot, and then we became friends.
I see. So this actually is her.
This is actually her and her significant other.
Oh, see, I found her attractive, and then of course she's in a relationship, and it's right in front of my
Yes, she is.
Done.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, no, it's story of my life.
Right, and so the next one will be as well.
Oh, good, perfect. Okay, so now we're. This one is The Useful Princess, Sarah Maple, United Kingdom.
Yes. Sarah is divine. That is Sarah.
Ah.
She is a painter, installation artist, you name it. She's done it. She has won an award a couple of years ago as one of the 3 or 4 most up-and-coming artists in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
And she is very, to use a British word, she is extremely cheeky.
Well, because I was wondering if this was, now, was this one, did Dave give the title of this one, or did she?
Dave did.
Dave did, okay. Because I couldn't
Yes.
help but wonder if, knowing that she's from the UK, if this was somehow a commentary on their royal family.
Given Sarah, it could be. It could originally have been. Yeah, that I don't know that one. One could contact her and find out.
Okay.
Because she certainly has spoofed an awful lot of things. I met her at an artist's residency in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we wound up collaborating on an international project. I mean, she's just wonderful. You can tell I like all these people.
Yes, I totally can. Although it might have been interesting to see if you'd thrown in somebody that you absolutely hated, just to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh no. I mean, no.
But
because I wouldn't want to deal with them. That's the truth.
Yeah, well, that's a solid point, and it's
I mean, it's very bizarre for me to be in a position of being a curator to begin with. I'm usually on the other side of these things.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that because because I'm a comedian, but in the last 2 years I've taken over doing a lot of the booking, and booking is kind of curating stand-up. And
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
There's half of my brain is like, I really don't care. I just want to get up.
Right. But it's been very interesting, and I think it will be helpful to the drive-by audience to see art, if not up close. Of course, they can get out of their car and look up close, but to see art, to see an art exhibition that was put together with some thought and with some purpose.
Well, and it's certainly a lot happier than what we currently have, which is the posters of all the shows we had to cancel.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to be reminded of that on a daily basis.
Yes, exactly. Well, Janet, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. and I'm glad we were able to showcase these artists. Our plan is,
Oh, I am as well, yes.
yeah.
You realize, however, that at the moment, I am missing Rachel Maddow.
Well, I appreciate. Well, now
that is
am I?
that is simply a commentary on Shelley's piece.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Well,
Right.
hope perhaps I'm just saving you from bad news. That's how we can spin that.
Okay. Yes, let's do that. Let's think of it that way. And I can always catch it later if I need to. This is great. I am looking forward to seeing at least photographs of the installation. Unfortunately, I can't think of any way to get on a plane and come visit and see it myself for a couple of days. And I would walk by anyway.
I know.
I don't drive.
Well,
and people should know they can get out of their car, put on their mask, stay 6 feet apart, and really look at the art for as long as they like.
right. And it's it's something a nice thing to. I don't like to use the word nice. It doesn't describe anything. A comedically and thoughtfully engaging visual element.
Enterprise.
There we go. I like that. I'm a Trekkie. I'll take it.
It's a good way to spend some time.
Yes. Get out of the house. Go look at the art. Think for a minute. You animals.
And there's nothing in it to offend if you want to bring your kids.
Yes. It's fun for all ages. Absolutely.
There you go.
Fun and funny. All right, Janet. And anything for you coming up on the horizons? Other projects you're working on, or is it kind of at this?
They're all the things that were canceled. I've got work sitting in different places waiting to be exhibited that are not going to. I said, don't do it for virtually. I'm not interested.
Right.
And all my projects are on hold, except what I choose to do in the studio, which is a series with a sort of overtitle of chaos. But I don't know where it's going. I'm, however, very pleased that during this time I have something serious to do that I do at home. Well, anyway.
Yeah, you got to, because there's, it's the only way to deal with it.
I agree.
All right, Janet.
Whole lot better than sitting here listening to the sirens go by.
Ugh. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But we shouldn't end on that depressing note.
No, we shouldn't. Well, I want to leave you with a compliment. I think, here's what I enjoy about you. And I do sincerely hope you take this as a compliment.
Okay, I'll try.
I enjoy listening to you because I enjoy listening to the way you complain.
No, I do take that as a compliment.
Perfect.
I am judgmental. I am opinionated. I do bitch and moan. And a friend and I are having a contest as to which of us is the more opinionated and which of us is the more judgmental. But we're both in our 80s and we're entitled.
Oh, absolutely. No, you have full rights to be both.
Right. So on that note.
Yes. Janet, thank you very much. Appreciate talking to you. And please enjoy Rachel Maddow.
Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.
Okay, and we are out.